Frog-Bit Blog.
Well, hello. Welcome to episode 54 of the Frog-Bit Blog podcast. I'm not sure what's in this week's show because I'm just making it up as I go along, but please do listen. I'm sure it's going to be fun anyway.
The Frog-Bit Blog.
Right, well then, what's been happening? What we're going to talk about today? Well, I've been covering quite a lot recently, haven't I, in the past few shows. I'm on a bit of a roll about what we're good at. It wasn't planned, it was just the way that it's turned out. And it turns out we're really good at poverty and denial of poverty. And this is in the UK. I'm just focusing on the UK for all you listeners in America and stuff. And Australia and around Europe. So anyway, I'm just doing it from a British perspective. So we're really good at poverty, denying poverty. We're really good at food banks. We've got loads of them. We're absolutely brilliant at tax evasion. And after watching the Brexit Party turn their back in the European Parliament, us Brits are really, really good at being rude to foreigners. If there was a being rude to foreigners event at the Olympics, I reckon we'd be gold medalists. Anyway, that wasn't what I was going to talk about this week. The main thing that we're really good at this week is actually turning our kids into problem gamblers. Yeah, there's a headline. The NHS is to open their first gambling clinic for children. I don't know why I'm laughing. This isn't in the slightest bit funny. There are 55,000 children classed as having a gambling problem in Britain, according to the Gambling Commission, which also found that 450,000 are gambling regularly, more than those that have taken drugs, drunk alcohol, or smoked. And it goes on to say, the link between problem gambling and stress, depression, and mental health problems are growing, and there are too many stories of lives lost and families destroyed. The gambling industry spends £1.5 billion, English pounds, on marketing and advertising campaigns. And hundreds of thousands of people in England have a serious problem with gambling, with an addition 2 million at risk from developing a disorder. And it goes on to say, we are on the brink of an epidemic fueled by industrialized gambling, and addicts are 15 times more likely to die by suicide than the general population. Shocking, isn't it? Guess what, though? We'll still make it hard for people to get hold of medicinal cannabis. I know you might think you're trying to work out the link there, but one's completely legal and one is illegal. And the reason why I say that is there's a story for this week. A mother has said police and social services were called after a school refused to give her epileptic daughter a cannabis oil prescription. Tanny in Montgomery's daughter, Indy Rose Clary, that's quite a nice name. Indy Rose Clary suffers from Dravet syndrome, a form of epilepsy. The 5-year-old, having around 40 potentially life-threatening seizures each month. After being prescribed cannabis oil by a private doctor, the number has now fallen to fewer than 10. However, her school is refusing to give the medication because the description has come from mainland Europe. And we can't be having any of that foreign CBD oil, can we? Not now we're leaving Europe. Tannine, who's 30, now says she has to make a 45-mile round trip to the special educational needs school at lunchtime to give her daughter the cannabis oil. She said the school had also confiscated the medication in the past and informed the police and social services. Isn't that shocking? What you need to do, Tannine, is just get her to the bookies so she could have a bet instead. That'd be fine, wouldn't it?
The Frog-Bit Blog.
Right, I was taking the dogs for a walk the other night and I saw this bloke and we had a chat, and then the next night we did the same thing. And we both realised that we kept bumping into each other because we both walked in opposite directions around the woods, because there's a circular walk around the woods, and we both always always bump into each other. And we both thought, oh yeah, we must come in the opposite direction. And it got me thinking about clockwise and counterclockwise, because track races always go counterclockwise around the track. So in fact, I know this because I used to live near an old track and I used to run around it always counterclockwise. And occasionally when I did it the other way, it felt a bit wrong. And I found this out about anti-clockwise running. And it says, in 1896, the first modern Olympic Games was held in Athens, Greece. During this event, During this event, the athletes were required to run clockwise during the track events. This was met with much complaint from the athletes. It was because of these complaints that the IOC then gathered in 1913 and set the current anti-clockwise rule. We run counterclockwise because everything in nature tends towards counterclockwise motion. And most people that walk the circular walk around our woods do it counterclockwise. And the Earth spins counterclockwise on itself. We're looking from the top, it does. And it spins around the sun counterclockwise. And the moon spins around the Earth counterclockwise. And the sun spins on its own axis counterclockwise. In fact, nearly everything in the solar system does. The planets, the moon, the Kuiper belt of asteroids. The only weirdos are Venus, which spins backwards, and Uranus, which spins on its side. Insert Uranus joke here, which is quite interesting, isn't it? More or less everything in the universe spins counterclockwise, and the only thing that reliably spins clockwise are clocks. And you can even get them. You can even buy them that can spin counterclockwise, don't you? I just thought that was interesting. Right, this is a strange one. A man who died after allegedly eating a gecko at a party there basically rotted from the inside out in the days leading up to his death, according to a report. David Dowell's family said he was in agony before he died and that his testicles had swollen up to grapefruits with fluid leaking from them. All right. Despite these grisly symptoms, the family doctors maintained the side effects were normal after diagnosing him with salmonella poisoning. Dowell allegedly ate a gecko at a party in December, then woke up the next day feeling ill, initially thinking it was a hangover. Dowell's family later called the police after he began to throw up green-coloured vomit. His family initially thought the instigator of the poisoning was chicken, but a friend present at the party revealed a far more concerning culprit. Oh, David ate a gecko that night, I'm pretty sure. It's possible that if the gecko was eaten, as it was being digested, the salmonella was released, but I've never heard of anything like this before. It just goes to show that anything as innocent as geckos can carry bacterial diseases. Yes, an innocent gecko died. Now, I know this has been a bit cruel, but what sort of idiot eats a live sentient animal as a party there? Should I play?
Oh, good, up it head, up.
No, better not, because it's a bit mean, that, isn't it? It's a bit mean. But Darwinism in action. That's all I'm saying. Right, gay Republicans. Again, I think I should get a theme tune for this. Former Indiana state representative and fundamentalist Baptist preacher Don Boys requested that Mayor and presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg elaborate on the extent to which he is gay. When my demand to know the extent of Pete's gayness, I will become the object of ridicule and rebuke and rejection, he declared. Well, you're right there, mate, because I am. Maybe even more death threats, but if you love homosexuals more than you fear retaliation, you tell them the truth. Boys claim that since Buttigieg had never clarified how gay he is, as a voter, he has a right to know the extent of his homosexuality. And Buttigieg says, I'm as gay as, I don't know, think of something really gay. That's how gay I am. This bloke went on to say, all homosexuals aware that their lifespan is about 20 years less than for a normal person. So voters should know that a homosexual president may not live to finish this term, he argued, even though Buttigieg will be the youngest president ever. He goes on to say, about 20% of homosexual men are infected with HIV, and about half of them don't know it. Don't voters have the right, even an obligation, to know a candidate's health status, since the candidate's health is always an issue? Is a homosexual candidate an exception? If so, why? Studies have shown that almost all homosexuals practice oral sex and about half ingest semen, which is as dangerous as ingesting raw blood, exposing them to hepatitis A and B, gonorrhea and HIV. Moreover, about 90% of homosexuals practice rectal sex and 2/3 do so on a regular basis. He was going to ask Buttigieg if he participates in golden showers where gays urinate on each other, splash each other with urine or drink urine, or if he is amongst the 41% of gays who practice fishing where one rams his fist into the rectum of his part. He seems to know a lot, and he seems to be rather keen to know a lot about the subject matter there, doesn't he? Very strange. And look, I should point out, and I've done this before, I'm not mocking Republicans for being gay curious, because we're all somewhere, all of us are somewhere on the spectrum. It's just all this anti-gay stuff that they come out with is actually dangerous for gay people. And I've said it before, come and live amongst progressives and you can be who you want to be. You can be whatever you want to be. As long as you don't harm other people, it's fine to be whatever you want to be. But if you're going to come out with all this homophobic nonsense to cover for your own suppressed feelings, then prepared for people to take the piss out of you weirdos.
Oh yeah, it's Lamb again. It's sexy Lamb again. Ooh yeah, it's Lamb again.
Right, well, it's that time of the show when we've got Len in. Lenin. Not Marx, Lenin. Hi, Lenin. How are you doing, mate?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. I'm very good. I'm a bit frazzled. It's that time of the year where we're just winding down and I get a big long holiday soon. What about you?
I'm a bit broken, yeah.
I think you're a broken man.
I feel like it.
2 years of podcasting have turned you into a broken man.
I'm glad it's Friday anyway.
Yeah,
is it meant to be Friday? Does that work for the podcast?
It doesn't matter. Shh. Yeah, no, we're pre-recording this one. So, what's news then?
Well, a few bits really. We're about to go off on our summer holidays, which is always nice, isn't it? So I'm going to try out a few new life things.
Life things. I do this at the beginning of every summer. Right, I'm going to meditate every day for an hour. I'm going to do some stretching. I'm going to learn yoga this year. And then it lasts for about a week or two. And then I go, I want a break, but no. So have you got good intentions?
Yeah, good intentions is a good way of putting it. I think it's one of those things where you throw about 20 things at the wall, and then if 2 of them stick, then you're winning, aren't you, really?
Yeah.
So, like, cycling's one of those things. It eventually was sort of a lot of trial and error and mistakes and research and things like that. Eventually it stuck, and now I'm doing it all the time, which is great.
And you're really healthy with it, apparently. You were telling me that your jeans don't fit anymore.
Well, actually, I was doing some interviews yesterday, and I forgot my belt when I came off my bike, and I was holding my trousers up the whole day because I haven't bought some new jeans to adapt to my loss of belly.
Shame it's a podcast because you can't show anyone, really.
We should start doing video.
But you started with the bike and you struggled a bit, didn't you? We're just getting into the routine and stuff. Yeah, you're in it now, aren't you?
New tyres have helped, new fitness has helped, sort of adapting my daily plan has helped, which kind of brings me on to what the whole summer plan is going to be about. I might have mentioned a website a while ago called mymorningroutine.com.
Yes, you mentioned it briefly.
Yes. And what's interesting about it is that it's not about successful people as such. It's a right old mix. It's about musicians, it's about authors, it's about athletes and things like that. So it's all about the daily routine, of which differs with everybody. Some people get up really early, some people get up in the afternoon. There's no commonalities there. The only main commonality is that every one of these people has a good evening routine.
And so is the website it gives you an insight into what other people's routines are, or does it help you devise your own, or is it just like these are people's routine, nick some of their ideas?
Exactly that. It's just examples. It's a little blog interviewing one person every week, and it's just there's about 350 on there now, and they made a book out of their findings. So it's quite an interesting.
Is that what you're going to do? Because you're going to start. That was the other thing you were going to do. Start a blog.
Well, that's one of the big parts of it as well. So that's going to be an interesting.
Oh,
one.
right. So, you're going to start that. Oh, maybe we could get you in and read sections out of it.
I like
authors
that, like an author's corner. Yeah.
Today I fell off my bicycle. Yeah, on author's corner.
Exactly.
All right,
like
cool.
That. So there's a lot of motivations for this just like changes that I was going to make. So the main change is going to be that I'm going to try and start heading to bed at like 9 a.m. That would make sense. 9 p.m. rather.
Right.
And there's some reasons behind that. It's because I tend to knock a couple of beers back on an evening, as many of the people in this country do, to try and unwind after a hard day. By going to bed early, I'm kind of cutting that out. I'm cutting out snacking. I'm cutting out, all those kind of things that I feel are getting sort of taking the edge off my fitness, really. And by going to bed early, I'll actually hopefully be reading more. have less contact with screens, so I'll be fulfilling that want to try and read more, which is quite nice.
It's your age, mate, isn't it?
Do you think?
But it is. No, it's weird because I found this when living in the city. I know it's different when I moved to the country. And I don't know if it was just because I moved out into the country or whether it was because of my age. But in the city, I always felt like I wasn't sure about going to bed because I feel like I was missing out on. You know, there was always that feeling that you were slightly missing out on something. And then we moved to the country, and now even in the summer, even at midweek, if I was like 9 o'clock, all right, I may as well go to bed and read because I'm just going to sit up and read. I may as well be in a comfortable position.
Yeah, and then sort of hopefully be asleep by 10, and that means even if I'm getting my full 8 hours in, I can be sort of 7.5 is fine. I run fine on that, so I like getting up at 5:30. Great.
Yeah.
That means I could make sure I have a well-planned breakfast in mind, so get some protein in there, try and cut out the carbs and the sugar a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'll be able to gently set up my bike instead of rushing around with the bags and things like that.
Because you've got young girls as well, haven't you, which sort of doesn't make things any easier.
Well, that means I'll be up before them, which is nice, which is quite a shock.
Get in there, wake them up, make them see how it feels.
Yeah, exactly. But one of my daughters is now at school, so she's like battling to get her out of bed in the morning, to be honest. That's one of the major problems with it, because getting up so early, I don't want to wake them up, so I'm going to be trying to work out some kind of ninja skills to get down the stairs without waking them up. So there's one thing out of it. But my wife's going to start exercising in the morning. We could do joint yoga. We could think about doing a meditation. There's lots of things we're going to try. I'm sure some of it will stick and some of it might not.
So you plan to use the summer break to actually start this?
Indeed. Yeah, we used to flip it mostly. We actually used to sort of stay up a lot later during the summer, and then it was a culture shock coming back to work, because you get into the routine of those like 3 or 4 weeks where you're staying up late and getting up late and treating each other that lies in, and maybe having a few more beers in the garden on an evening. And if we implement it now when things are a bit calmer, then hopefully it'll be in place when we start work.
Yeah, because you were saying you've got another couple of colleagues that do something similar that are starting at 4.
Yeah, well, I've got a colleague who's very much into his fitness. He's very, very healthy living kind of chap. He's been getting up at 5 a.m. for many, many years. He naturally wakes up at 5 a.m. now. That's his body's telling him that's what it does. And he often spends the time just sort of alone with his own thoughts in the morning, away from the hustle and bustle of his family, and preparing his body for then go moving into the phase of exercise, rather than actually sort of shocking it into exercise.
Yeah.
He's actually going to start moving it into 4 a.m. because he wants to introduce more drawing and artwork and things like that, which is extreme.
It's weird that we use the term extreme, but getting up at 4 to draw. I mean, meditation's meant to be really good in the morning, but like I said, I've never felt, I don't know whether it would be good to actually pause at the beginning of the day and go, right, gather your thoughts. But I get up at 6:30, but even then it's like, I haven't got time to meditate.
Yeah.
I'll do it in the evening.
Meditation for me is in so many different forms. I mean, meditation and mindfulness. Yeah. For me, lots of it's in the form of not routine, but what's the word I'm thinking of? It's more of the I can't really think of what the word for it is now. It's terrible podcasting, isn't it? It's like when you have the Japanese and their tea rituals is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Finally, you can cut all that out.
Ritual. No, we're leaving it
rituals.
In.
I like that.
Yeah.
Rituals is what I would consider mindfulness as well. So, for example, making coffee in the morning. Some people rush it, have instant coffee, and just get it in the face. For me, it's more along the lines of like having the really nice kettle that I've actually thought about and what I wanted to buy. It's again very much in my line with the minimalist sort of outlook that I've been sort of studying for many years. Have the correct mug, have the nicest coffee, have the nicest packet, enjoy the smell of the coffee, take time with it.
Talking minimalism, I watched have you seen the film? Because I've got a Netflix account.
Yes.
I've mentioned it on this week's podcast because my daughter's got it, and I didn't realise that you get 4 or 5 free accounts with it. And she's give us one. So I've started watching loads of stuff, and the minimalist film came up with
Josh Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus.
Yes. No, really interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Really, I think we're pretty minimalist, me and Mary, in the fact that we don't buy anything. The only thing that's not minimalist about my lifestyle is everything that I've not wanted to use for years is stuck in the loft.
Yeah.
And I know at some point, or probably when we move, I'll go, look, it's been in the loft for years. All my old memories, videos, DVDs, band photos and all that. What point is it in the loft? You may as well throw it away. But it's a weird thing to throw away. But that's part of the
Loads
the
of
thing,
strategies
isn't
you
it?
can use for that kind of thing. I mean, there's three that come to mind. Is digitizing that content.
Yes.
So any photographs can be very, very quickly scanned now.
Yeah.
You could upload anything to whatever cloud service that you like, whether it be music files, video files, whatever.
Yeah.
There's also boxing parties that you can do, where if you box up all of your belongings, and then over a space of a few months, you can then take out of the boxes what you actually use and see and get joy from.
Yeah.
And then everything else goes.
Yeah. I think the thing for me about, and like I said, we buy second-hand clothes. We don't go on holidays and stuff like that. So we are quite minimalist. I think the thing for me is it's about throwing stuff out. I hate the thought of anything that I'm not using going in a landfill forever. You know what I mean? It's like I've got a loft full of stuff that and old cables that I used to use when I was doing editing, music editing and stuff. And it's like, I've got to throw that. No one's going to want it, but it's just going to rot down. It's going to take thousands of years to rot down, and I'm loath to do it. It's the dilemma, isn't it?
They're getting much better at recycling these elements if you go at your local places for that. But also, I suppose you've got things like you've got eBay and you've got Spock and you've got whatever you like to try to put on there.
I mean, I suppose I should sell it, but I'm just not that way inclined. I'd rather give it away. There are give it away.
Oh, absolutely! I've given away most of the things on
Yeah.
Spock. I just put it down for Facebook Marketplace is brilliant for giving away freebies. I give away every cot that we've ever had from my children. I've given away the last television that we had. Somebody who their child accidentally broke it, and they were just there was a 5-year-old telly, and they were just overjoyed to get it.
Yeah,
and that's fantastic, isn't it? It was even slightly sort of busted, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
another person's treasure, isn't it?
And we've got to stop purchasing, haven't we? We've got to stop buying
wholeheartedly.
everything from new.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I think that's a good point to stop. Thank you very much for coming in.
Very welcome.
And I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, it's land again. Land, oh land. Oh sexy land. Oh land, yeah land, great land.
Right, Stephen Oken. We've had him on a few times because he is such a top bloke. And he's been in the news again, which is quite amazing, really, because he's been dead a year. But these stories keep cropping up about him. And he's been on this time talking about the environment and climate change and humans. And it does say in the article, he said this before his death, which sort of goes without saying, doesn't it? Physicist Stephen Hawking said pollution coupled with human greed and stupidity were the biggest threats to humanity. Near the time of his death, the late Stephen Hawking remained convinced that the human race would require a planet B if the species hoped to continue its existence. Hawking believed that climate change would be humanity's extinction event. This is what he said.
We are close to the tipping point where global warming becomes irreversible. Trump's action could push the Earth over the brink to become like Venus.
Wait, well, that's the second time we've mentioned Venus in this programme. Anyway, carry on, Stephen.
With a temperature of 250 degrees and raining sulfuric acid. Climate change is one of the great dangers we face, and it's one we can prevent if we act now.
And then he argues that humans were diminishing Earth resources far faster than nature or technology could possibly replace them. And he blamed it on human greed and stupidity for the impending climate disaster.
We have certainly not become less greedy or less stupid. The population has grown by 500 million in the last 6 years with no end in sight. At this rate, it will be 11 billion by the year 2100.
And he took the view that humans are inherently selfish and destructive. He was sceptical of any human efforts to rein in climate change due to these characteristics. Oh, thanks, Stephen. That's cheered us all right up, that, isn't it? You're just sending us depressing messages from beyond the grave.
From Big Blog.
Right, I've been watching a load of programs on Netflix recently since I realised that my daughter's got a Netflix account, and it meant that she's got a few free logins, and we've got one of them. Me and Mary have got one, and it's great because there's loads of good stuff on there. And I've been watching loads, and I ended up watching a documentary on Timothy Leary and Ram Dass called Dying to Know. And they were good buddies in the 60s around the LSD culture at the time, but they fell out and then got back together. And the film charts the relationship between them. So it's Timothy Leary and Ram Dass. Ram Dass, formerly known as Richard Alpert. And, you know, Timothy Leary, obviously, he conducted experiments with psilocybin and LSD, and Albert went on to India, grew spiritual and all hippified, and later became Ram Dass. Anyway, I was in the pub the other night, and I met the man in the pub, and I was telling him about this, and he assured me that he could get Timothy Leary's phone number for 20 quid. Now, I thought Timothy Leary had died, hence the name of the documentary, Dying to Know, but the bloke in the pub assured me that it was all a publicity stunt for his new book, and he'd be keen to talk to me for my Is It Okay to Talk About Drugs section, because as we all know, Timothy Leary was an expert into LSD, psilocybin and all that mind-expanding consciousness stuff. So I thought it'd be good to get him in and get his expert opinion anyway. So I've got the number, and I'm going to give it Timothy Leary a call live on air. This is quite exciting, this, isn't it? So shall we go ahead? Oh, here we are. It's ringing.
Hello, Timothy O'Leary here. How can I help you expand your mind?
Timothy O'Leary.
Yes, that's me, the famous one. I dropped the O when I lived in America to save time.
Oh.
Exactly. See how much time you wasted saying that?
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, I did a sketch on that a couple of years ago about people saying parboiled instead of parts boiled. And then each time they do it, they save a second or so, and then they save up the time they saved and use it for a holiday in later life.
Yes, I remember that. It makes no fucking sense then, and it makes no fucking sense now.
Anyway, how do I know you're the real Timothy Leary?
Turn up, tune up, and drop in. That was my famous saying.
Wasn't it turn on, tune in, and drop out?
Oh yeah, so it was. Me memory isn't what it was. All that feckin' LSD messed up me brain a little bit.
Okay, right. I was going to ask your opinion on some research that's about the ayahuasca regenerating brain cells.
Oh, I read that. I forget where now.
So it didn't work on you then?
Hey, less of that, you sacky fecker. Yes, they gave some brain cells in a petri dish some ayahuasca and they grew them or something like that. Or the correct term is, a team of researchers were able to successfully stimulate the development of hippocampal stem cells in both young and mature neurons in a petri dish by giving them ayahuasca.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's early days, but it may be useful down the line to help with brain disorders. It needs more in vivo research, but the researchers are optimistic, Mick.
Is that your mate, Optimist Mick?
Hey, you sarky fecker. They also want to try it next with LSD to see if they get the same results.
Doesn't look like it done much good for you, though, does it?
Hey, less of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. O'Leary.
That's okay. Was there anything else you wanted?
No, that'll do for now. Thanks for your expert opinion on the subject.
No problem. Don't forget to turn up, tune up, and drop in.
No, I won't forget.
Bye now.
Bye. Strange fella, that. Do you think that was actually the real Timothy Leary or Timothy O'Leary? And while we're on the subject of illegal drugs being good for the brain, another bit of research, really, early research this is, has shown that something similar with marijuana, and it's actually proven effective as antibiotic, and this is what it says. Early stage research investigating topical uses of synthetic cannabis, CBD, the main non-psychoactive compound extracted from cannabis in hemp plants for a range of skin conditions, was remarkably effective at killing a wide range of bacteria, including bacteria that have become resistant to other common antibiotics and did not lose its effectiveness after extended treatment. In experiments in petri dishes, there we go again, more petri dishes, synthetic CBD was just as effective at killing strains of Staphylococcus and Streptococcus bacteria as current prescription antibiotics. Crucially, it also proved effective against bacteria that had become resistant to commonly used antibiotics. However, the results are still preliminary and do not mean that infections can be self-treated with CBD, the researchers say. Well, yeah, it is early days, but it's promising stuff, isn't it? So, yeah, let's have the theme tune again.
Is it okay to talk about drugs? Is it okay? Gonna do it anyway. is clever, it's really, really clever. Nature is clever, it's really, really clever. Nature ain't a Tory, nature ain't a Trump. That's not saying much because they're really, really dumb. Oh, nature is clever.
Right, I was out walking the dogs the other night, as I've said before, and I was watching them dick around, you know, just playing, sniffing the wind, sniffing each other's arses, doing all that kind of doggy stuff. And I got to thinking, dogs are really, really zen, aren't they? In fact, all animals are really zen, aren't they? Because here we are, us humans, we spend all our time trying to be all mindful and live in the moment. And we spend a fortune on meditation classes or phone apps or expensive retreats and all that stuff. Because we're so distracted by everyday life, we struggle to live life in the moment. And then you look at dogs and you look at animals, and are they thinking about the argument they had last night and what they should have said instead? Are they thinking about the weekend? Are they thinking about saving for a pension or how they're going to pay the bills this month? No, of course they're not. They're constantly living in the moment. And they're constantly existing at the point in time and space that we're all trying to end up getting to. They're mindful, aren't they? They're zen. They're mindful, and they don't even have to try. And you know why? Well, it's because
nature is clever. It's so fucking clever. Cleverer than Trevor. Though I don't know a Trevor. That's all I'm most clever. Actually, her name is Gaia. The temperature is getting higher. Very soon she'll be on fire.
right, her name is Gaia, and she's on fire. Well, the temperature certainly has been getting higher, hasn't it? There's been record heat waves in Europe last week, and this is what it says. New analysis by EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service with the European Centre for Medium Range Weather Forecasts show that temperature records weren't just broken for Europe, they were completely obliterated. The previous European record for June, set in 1999, was smashed to bits, not just by a fraction of a degree, but by a full 1 degree. It was also the hottest June the world has ever recorded, with the entire globe experiencing the warmest June ever by 0.1 of a degree centigrade. Well, is it climate change? You know, scientists can say with absolute confidence that it's part, as the world heats up, potentially lethal heat waves will become more common. Heat waves will become more common in many parts of the world. It's not to say we can't study the effects of climate change on individual events, but, you know, we must be careful how we interpret the study of such findings yet. And a rapid one that they've just done, an attribution study published on Tuesday, has suggested that France's heat wave at the end of June was made 5 times more likely as a result of climate change. And I read a bit more about this, and what it says, the atmospheric and climate systems that create heat waves are fiendishly complicated. Accounting for all the drivers of June's heat wave will take time and an immense amount of data crunching by some of the world's most powerful supercomputers. They've got to consider all various influences, the paths of the jet stream, the temperature of the oceans, the movement of wind and formation of clouds. And crucially, they'll have to do the calculations both with and without impacts of human influence climate change. So what we mustn't do is mistake climate for weather, but all the indicators are that the climate change is increasing the likelihood of such events. Like it said, the French one is apparently 5 times more likely, and last year's UK one is apparently 30 times more likely because of the weather. But let's keep positive, because we need to do something about this, and next episode I'm going to talk more about some of the things that we can do. But for now...
So don't be a climate. She's on fire, her name is Gaia, she's on fire, her name is Gaia, she's on fire. Won't somebody please think of the flowers? You know that they have feelings just like ours. Has someone...
Right, this is interesting. You know, I'm always banging on about plant intelligence, you know, clever cabbages, erudite elderberries, brainy broccoli, and perceptive peas, that kind of thing. After my own sort of research journey into it all, which ended up with me finding about the scientist Monica Galliano, who I mentioned in an episode of the podcast called Thus Spoke the Plant, because that was the name of a book she wrote about it. Well, guess what? Biologists are fighting back. The gardening gloves are off. Frustrated by more than a decade of research which claims to reveal intentions, feelings, and even consciousness in plants, more traditionally minded botanists have finally snapped. Plants, they protest, are emphatically not conscious. The latest salvo in the plant consciousness wars has been fired by US, British, and German biologists who argue that practitioners of plant neurobiology have become carried away with the admittedly impressive abilities of plants to sense and react to their environments. Writing in the journal Trends in Plant Science, Lincoln Tates, a biologist at the University of California, and 7 like-minded researchers state there is no evidence that plants require and thus have evolved energy-expensive mental faculties such as consciousness, feelings, and intentionality to survive or reproduce. Our criticism of plant neurobiologists is that they have failed to consider the importance of brain organization, complexity, and specialization for the phenomena of consciousness. The broadside drew a robust response from the University of Sydney's Monica Galliano, hooray, she's mentioned, who conducts research into the cognitive abilities of plants, including perception, learning, memory, and consciousness. She said the criticisms failed to take account of all the evidence and focused only on the work that supported the author's viewpoint. For me, the process of generating knowledge through rigorous science is about understanding the evidence based behind a claim, she said. Where is their experimental data, or are we expected to just accept their claim at face value? The debate is shaping up to be the biggest botanical bun fight since the Romantic era, when plant biologists argued for more than a century about sexy plants. Ooh, sorry, sex in plants, yeah. Sorry, that's it. Yeah, more than a century about sex implants, not sex implants as if you have an implant, sex implants, yeah? As the purists argued nothing so obscene would be happening in flower beds, extremists on the sex side envisioned plants not only having sex, but being full of lust and passion. Well, I missed that debate, and that was a Romantic era. I might have to look that one up. Sexy plants full of lust and passion. They want to raise people's consciousness about plants as living organisms and reach them on an emotional level. I'm very sympathetic to the motivations, but it's clouding their objectivity. They have to be prepared for the fact that plants may not have consciousness, he said. This is that Lincoln bloke, yeah? It's a bad science. It takes the whole scientific enterprise and reduces its credibility. But Monica Galliano fighting back, she's having none of that. She said, if we think that we already know how things are and fail to continuously question our own assumptions but construct our claims on a system of beliefs we are dearly attached to, then we are in deep trouble and miss the opportunity for true scientific discovery to occur. Miserably, this opinion piece seems yet another missed opportunity, one that made strikingly no headway towards a better scientific understanding of what consciousness is. And again, it's interesting, isn't it? There's a bun fight, there's a fight going on, and it's all that whole debate, isn't it? Because they haven't got a recognisable brain structure, then they can't be conscious. The thing is, right, scientists can't find consciousness in the human brain, so why would we expect to find it in plants? I was going to say plant brain, but brain's obviously not the right word. And remember, until recently, we used to think that birds would lack a lot of cognitive functions because of their brains. They lack a cerebral cortex, which is presumed to be the seat of intelligence. But guess what? They're intelligence anyway. They just find another way of doing it. And who's to say that plant intelligence, in inverted commas, doesn't reside somewhere else? And I think part of it's probably the problem of language and terminology, because as soon as we say things like intelligence, we do this immediate thing of trying to compare it to ourselves, trying to compare it to human intelligence, that human exceptionalism. But it's interesting debate, isn't it? You know, I'm not 100%, but I'm, you know, it's interesting debate. Anyway, so good on you, Monica Galliano, for fighting the good fight for plant consciousness. And won't somebody please think of the flowers?
Secrets of our souls.
And won't somebody please think of the flowers? They're talking to me saying,
We are your friends.
Right, well, guess who else I've got in? I've got Mark, the other Mark. And I don't remember Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
You've been on how many times? Is it 2 or 3?
I think this will be my 4th time. I
Right,
think.
so first time you were in as a minimalist.
Yeah.
Second time...
It was about being a veggie.
Oh, yeah, your veggie journey. And then third time it was about you being scared of a plastic tree.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so how is the veggie journey, is it still going?
Yes, it's still going. I have tried vegan, but I still find myself reverting to veggie. I'm finding
What tempts you?
It's the milkshakes. Yeah, I don't eat cheese anyway.
Well, the milkshakes they're not for Farage, are they? You're not throwing them at people?
No, always ready.
Yeah.
If I ever see him, I'll be ready.
Yeah.
But no, I've got. I drink a lot of milkshakes, and that's one of the biggest things. The Alpro milkshakes are a nice replacement.
Yes, is there a vegan milkshake?
There is.
Is there like all the big companies do them? Or, like you go to McDonald's, for example, and buy them?
No, not yet. You can't go to fast food places
Right.
and get milkshakes. But Alpro do a good kind of milkshake range. They do kind of big litre bottles or little packs of 3. They're quite nice, but you can only really get them from supermarkets while you're out and about. You can't really get them.
Yeah.
And they're not often chilled either. They keep them on the shelves instead of in the fridge.
Yeah,
Which is
so I've never been a big milkshake fan. I think when I was little, I probably threw up on one, and it's them things. It's like your tree thing, isn't it? It haunts you forever, and I've never really gone down that path. But anyway, the reason why we're getting you in is because you've got a film, haven't you? Not only do you do lots of other things, but you've got a film out on it. I'm going to the premiere in. Is it 2 or 3 weeks?
About 3 weeks, yes. So I'm the main kind of future of my career is going to be based around feature filmmaking. So I've got my debut feature film out on the 1st of August at the Tyneside Cinema, which is called Adderley Weekend.
And it's a dark comedy, is that the way to describe it?
Yeah, dark comedy. It's all based on so the storyline follows a guy called Chris who has his line meticulously planned. All he has to do is grab a quick shower, have a bite to eat, wash the car, then head off on his journey into the hills of Northumberland to a romantic getaway to meet his floozy. But everything that could go wrong does go wrong.
So it's floozy. Is he? Is it a potential girlfriend, or is it a bit on the side? Is it all how?
Definitely a bit on the side. Yeah.
Oh right. So is he married, and it's his bit on the side?
He is. He's married. He has a newborn baby.
Oh, how cruel!
So he's the worst scumbag of them all.
And you
arrogant,
wrote the script?
obnoxious. Yes, I wrote the script.
So it's like, oh wow.
So I wrote the script 4 years ago. It took us 3.5 years from starting to film. From script to screens, 3.5 years.
And you play Chris, do you?
I ended up playing Chris in the end. Yeah, I did have someone else I was trying to get lined up, but then their schedule, their availability didn't fit in with the filming schedule, so I had to, in the end, with us being enjoy being an actor as well, I ended up taking on that role myself.
Yes, because you've done a bit of acting here and there, haven't you? You've got a profile on, what is it? Where do you...
On IMDb.
IMDb.
So Mark Kenny on IMDb.
Oh, I'm Mark Kenny on IMDb. Yeah, have a look, listeners, and you work out what he looks like. But to actually get together a film, it's a pretty big project, isn't it? Without any funding and stuff.
Yeah, well, there was some funding, but it was pretty much all self-funded. I'd sold a car, moved out of a flat, and saved up and sacrificed going on a holiday for 2 or 3 years just to put the money that would have gone on to that sort of thing into this film, which for me makes sense. I'd rather put the money into a project than a...
If you're creative, making a whole film is I mean, it's not the pinnacle, but it's a pretty big thing to do, isn't it? I mean, it must take a lot of planning and sorting people out. And have you, because you write music as well, have you written the music for it?
No, although the band that I play bass in did do the soundtrack, but I wasn't part of the writing during that.
Right.
Maybe one of the songs that was used, I was around when they were, because I joined this band. They were already quite established when I've joined them. So.
Right. So are you doing any of the... presumably if you're on camera, you can't be behind camera, or do you do a bit of both?
I do a little bit of both, but quite a lot of what I do behind camera isn't actually using the camera. I do quite a lot of the development work, not so much the pre-production work. So I'll write the script, kind of cast it, organise the locations, do the logistics of how the days are going to go together. And then when it actually gets down to recording, I'm not actually part of the behind the camera.
So how many days filming did that take?
We did the first spell. We did 10 days That was kind of 7 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
So we did around 10 days at that sort of hours. And then we edited it. We spent maybe 6 months editing it. Then it was winter, so we had to wait for the summer to come back round, and we did a further maybe 6 or 7 days.
What, for the continuity, basically?
Yeah, because it was all written in the story happened in the summer. All the film was done in the summer 2017. By the time we realised which bits we were missing, it was winter.
You had to wait.
Yeah.
Oh, that's yeah.
So we had to wait 6 months before we could really kind of get going with getting the pickup days, which there was maybe another 5 or 6 days.
So will we notice the continuity errors with the weather? Because it must be pretty hard in England to keep continuity, because the weather's never the same, is it?
If you look really, really, really hard, you might see there's maybe 1 or 2 shots that are in a winter. So the leaves on the trees will disappear for a shot. But if you look even harder, although the weather is pretty much the same, it's summer, I do lose a bit of weight and grow my hair's a little bit longer on.
Oh, you're not doing a Boris, are you? Where your hair's a different length from one day to the next.
Yeah, so that does happen. So when we did a pickup day, I lost a bit of weight over that summer.
Oh wow! So are listeners? Are any going to? Obviously, it's on at the Tyneside in Newcastle. Is any listeners going to be able to? How are you going to distribute it?
It's going to be on at the Tyneside. That's the premiere. After that, depending on how that goes, I might organise a few more northeast-based screenings, but I'm going to see how well the Tyneside cinema goes down. And then beyond that, hopefully towards the end of 2019, so towards the end of this year, it should be available on Amazon to buy and rent.
Oh, wow. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So it'll be available for people to watch. And I'm actually going to see it in, a couple of weeks. So I will actually do it. Yeah. In fact, we'll get you back in. But you're disappearing to do good things, aren't you, soon? I
am, yes. So this has been the film screening project that's been in the pipeline for the last maybe 3 or 4 years. Now that that's coming to an end and it's just a distribution exhibition side, which kind of happens online remotely, I can be anywhere managing that. So I'm using this opportunity to go and do some environment conservation work and looking after some animals and things like that.
Wow.
While using what downtime I get doing that to write the next one.
So in fact, I'm going to get you back in before you go to talk more about that. So we're going to save that for another journey, another episode. But that's going to be brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Lad.
Yeah, still get my head around. I'm scared about taking the jump, but
well, it's worth it. It's got to be sort of stepping outside your comfort zone to some extent, isn't it? But good on you. Anyway, thank you very much for coming in, and I'll talk about the film after it's been on, and hopefully I'll still be laughing.
Yes.
Cheers. Now.
Thank you.
Right, well, that's all I've got time for. Thanks to Len for coming in. Thanks to Mark for coming in. But mostly, thank you all for once again listening and being loyal followers. And I will speak to you soon then. Okay, bye.
From Big Blog. From Big Blog. From Big Blog. From Big Blog.